Growing up was a bit hard for me because I was always taking place to place just to have food in my stomach. I mostly stayed with my grandma, and she would always have food for me and my siblings, and we wouldn't always be eating. We would be eating every other day because we didn't have enough food to actually feed us all.
The actual Cuba area where the school resides is an old Spanish settlement village. And we serve this area here, and we also serve the Eastern Navajo Nation. So both in the Cuba area and the Eastern Navajo Nation, we still have several areas that don't have running water, electricity. It's very isolated. You don't find that in most places in the United States, but you find it commonly here.
100% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. Food justice is a real issue, especially here in this really rural area, because our students don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables all the time.
I always want to be careful when we talk about this, just because I think sometimes when we talk about kids that live in poverty, there's an assumption that they can't perform, or there's an assumption that they can't do. And so part of what we know in other areas that we've worked in, within LASED, different kinds of school districts, other areas in the state of New Mexico, that poverty is not a link to kids not being successful, but not having accessibility to food, to water, to issues and things like that, that the school now can provide some supports for, that institutions such as the Kellogg Foundation, the new work with Yazi Martinez and other things that are going on in the state of New Mexico that really support this holistic wraparound services for kids. The student population in Cuba is 76% Native American, 22% Hispanic, 2% Caucasian and other. In the Yazi Martinez case, it really truly looks at financial equity within communities that were largely populated Hispanic, Native American, differentiated languages, cultural, understanding their culture and how to integrate this into curriculums across what kids see, ensuring that special education students are taken care of, students who speak a different language get the services that they need, and many other things in terms of what the court has asked. The courts are now forcing us in New Mexico education to do what was right by all students and ensure that they get equitable education and can compete not only locally in New Mexico but throughout the world. And part of that story is the fact that our kids before 3 years ago were not receiving nutritional food as well. We would look at the effects of food and nutrition and how it was not supporting our kids in their day-to-day lives. We brought on a professor from NMSU who knows how to do this and knows how to push the work out to the local farmers and our kids, again, to be able to see that they can cultivate, that they can grow, that they can have vegetables, that they can have beans maybe, whatever it is, potatoes, and even looking at the fact that in years to come, maybe even this year, looking at being able to say, if your grandparents or your parents or whatever have a plot of land, and you guys can grow these things that we need in the cafeteria, we will contract with you to be able to grow potatoes so that it becomes income for their family as well.
Part of the whole origin of the school lunch system is the realization that hungry kids don't learn and malnourished kids don't learn. So without taking care of their bodies, their mind is not going to work. What we're trying to do is as much farm to table food as possible. We really want to foster good eating habits, and that starts with your ingredients. We would like as much as possible to be locally sourced, and we're starting with produce because that's the easiest, but eventually we would like to look into some protein and dairy possibilities as well.
Thank you.
One of the options today is a chef salad. Prepackaged, ready to go, and although the other entrees might be something like chicken nuggets, you'd be surprised how many students will actually choose something healthy when it is presented to them.
It's definitely better than the old school foods, like the old foods that we used to have. I used to love prison food, to be honest. But yeah, it's definitely better.
Fresh food is big. The food is fuel, like everybody says. And you eat good, you play good. So it'd be nice to have some fresh stuff to burn. These guys burn a lot of calories, so it'd be nice to get some fresh food.
We had a greenhouse constructed back in December, and this is the results of the greenhouse. We grow all kinds of vegetables. We probably have 20 different kinds of vegetables. We have squash, corn, beans, which are the three sisters for the Navajo culture. With the Hispanic community, the same thing. When the Spanish came across, they brought with them an agricultural component that they tied into the Native American component. And so I think both cultures have become stronger by doing that. You name it, we just about have it. And this is not me, this is the students that are putting this together. And they come out here for horticulture class and they learn about planting, they learn about plants, and then we get them out here and they start planting. They prepared the soil, they transplanted the plants from the greenhouse into the garden, and now they're reaping the results of it.
And here on this side of the greenhouse, we have a unique kind of cucumber. It's actually called a lemon cucumber. And these are my personal favorite. These are very delicious. And if you haven't tried one, I really recommend it.
I think it's really important. The way the economy is today, prices going up, families, especially middle income and low income families, really need to get a supplemental source of food, and I think this is a move in the right direction. Kids are finding out that they can grow plants in almost any kind of soil as long as they prepare it and get everything ready for it.
What excited me is because I'm Navajo, and I like to show how my culture has pursued food and corn and all that, and how we used to take care of it, take care of Mother Earth and all that, and how we show how we used to make Navajo basket out of corn husk, and how we used to make pasoli and all delicious food that we used to make with food. And it's fun to show that it's from my heritage, and I can learn some people's heritage and what they used to do with their food.
We've got a huge garden here. We've got a ton of vegetables. We give some to the cafeteria. The kids take some home, staff takes some home. But we've got so many today that we're going to go out and do a Cuba Schools growers market. They picked yesterday afternoon and they picked this morning. We've probably got over 500 pounds of plant material ready to sell.
Keep the change.
Okay, thank you.
How are they looking to you?
Looking like I'm gonna eat some good chili when I go camping.
How are sales going? Pretty good?
Yeah, so the UC Boulder program is a program that was designed to work with the Kellogg Foundation grant money that we received. And the Kellogg Foundation grant money was set up to focus on food justice, food equity, and also student voice.
Right now I'm on a field trip with the Indigenous program at Cuba Independent Schools.
They are excited. They love going on field trips, whether it's a trip like this or every Friday we take them on a field trip.
Regular day starts right here.
Last week we took them on a field trip to show them the irrigation process, how water is taken from a river and used to irrigate crops.
Today we're just giving you guys a walkthrough of what we're doing, what day to day.
We are a food hub here in the South Valley that operates and works with a total of 45 different small-scale farmers.
Right now we are trying to build new farmers, and that's what these kids are here to do. We're trying to give them a stepping stone.
I'm gaining knowledge about plants and how they can help you if you live far from a grocery store. I think it is a useful tool to have in case there's a food shortage, or if there's not enough to eat. You have a garden to go to and pick your food.
Is it tasty?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We wanted to bring the kids out to agricultura because they're a food justice organization based out of Albuquerque, and they also have Diné representation in their leadership, and so we felt like it was responsive to students' culture and the kind of project that they're trying to run, and just get answers on like what food justice might look like in our communities. The goal is for them to know and see partnerships for something that they might want to bring to their school or their community. We're just hoping that students get more time on their research recommendations and more suggestions as to like what would be appropriate and helpful for their schools and their sets of research recommendations.
They're ripe? Yeah. It's like a Granny Smith or something?
I don't know.
Our program over the summer, the UC Boulder program, in a nutshell, was an opportunity for students to intern and participate in an internship, a paid internship, at the standard rate of $15 an hour, which was fantastic for the students. And they got to learn about all types of different aspects of communities and the way that communities are set up, the way that communities have to interact with other communities, the way that resources are distributed to communities. Student voice is really important, and we learned this over the course of the Boulder program this summer.
Our research question today is, how does our community have access to food and water?
The students held student listening sessions at each school, and our Boulder students were the ones that led it, and they designed a student survey on student voice. They also came up with all these great ideas and all these things that they learned over the course of the UC Boulder program, and they also listened to the students to see if there's anything else that they suggest or anything that they think would be really great for the school or things that they think are really going great that we could improve upon. And so now that we have all that information, we really need to get it out to the community.
This is our presentation. We based it off the past and the future. Our question was, in the future, how can we tell people about food justice? Our definition of food justice is access to healthy, good food and the work it takes to get there.
Why is it important? The reason why it's important is because not everyone in our community have access to food or water. Some people from our community walk places to either get water or food.
There's people who rely on streams and wells to get water and use it for personal use. Personally, we had to walk a mile down to a church with multiple water jugs to fill up with water, and had to walk back to my house, making multiple trips.
Some of our kids, they don't have running water. And again, it's just where they live. They're living in ancestral parts of lands. In those ancestral parts of lands, there might not have been areas where they could provide wells, or they didn't have enough money to get a well. And so they were used to hauling it. So a lot of it is somewhat of what they've done kind of generationally, right? So they haul water in. So how do we ensure that we honor and support where they choose to live, or where they can live, or where they can afford to live? One of the things we're trying to do and work in conjunction with the Navajo Nation is to ensure that we can help them do whatever we can to either bring them in bottled water, to help them have running water, to provide opportunities if they don't have showers and things in their area, to be able to get off the bus in the morning and come and shower at in the gyms, and have safe, secure places where they can shower, wash their clothes, and have access to things that supports water and health.
So just like our water issue, our school has been shut down a bunch of times, and the community had to reach out about issues with water, but it went all the way far enough to where it closed down the school.
There's been a lot of water issues in Cuba that I understand even the kids from this project are going out and saying they're going to meet with the mayor and the city council to address the issues of water, even in the local place where they're supposed to have water, in a local community.
Causing the closing of schools and need for bottled water. So the infrastructure of Cuba, New Mexico's water pipeline.
And right now, the two priorities are the water and the sewer. You guys are the future of our community, and you know what the problems are. We all have to work together.
Once this pandemic started, the school district really came together under the supervision of Dr. Sanchez-Grego. She's been a huge support for, just all of the extra supports that we're doing. Some of our kiddos, they're on a bus for 2 hours one way to get to school and 2 hours back home after the school day ends.
In a place where households are separated by miles of desert and ancient cliffs, Starlink is the only option for communication here.
And the jetpack didn't really help too.
So this has been the thing that's worked?
Yes, definitely. It is.
Is it easy to operate?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
That thing is one of 650,000 terminals in 40 countries around the world communicating with Starlink's growing army of satellites above us all in low Earth orbit. The Cuba Independent School District in New Mexico used COVID relief money to provide Starlink to their 400 households and 700 students. The funding lasts until 2024, but after that, the district and the students are on their own.
If we lose emergency connectivity funding money, which is a federal money, we wouldn't be able to probably continue this for most students.
Something that would leave hundreds of children back where they started before the pandemic, isolated and behind.
We would give kids books. Why wouldn't we give them internet connection? Why wouldn't we see that as an equalizer for students who live in places where they either can't afford it or can't get it?
A technology that provides great opportunity. The only question now is for whom?
When they get Starlink, they get a sense of belonging, like they belong to this world community now. It just really opens up the world to them instead of just being isolated to their little corner of the world where we don't have running water, we don't have TV, we don't have hay for the horse, those types of things.
One of the amazing things about our work in Cuba is that we have implemented so many programs. And these programs have been innovative and successful and are getting all of this national attention. The national attention, I think, is coming because of the work that surrounds equity, our work including Starlink. The superhuman efforts of our bus drivers has been amazing during the pandemic. They delivered food, they provided life-sustaining supplies to our students, computers, educational materials, and the incredible work that we did with the Appleseed Foundation to help fund our homeless students. And we saw an increase to 95% of graduation because of the fact that we looked at these human children and their actual needs in their homes.
There's so many programs now for students. Some stuff I wish I could have taken advantage of when I was a student here. It's amazing to see the progress that this district has made.
Oh, definitely the internships that they're doing. I heard that they're doing one for law, and I think that's amazing. Pretty much anything they're doing. They're doing healthcare. I heard they're doing, what else were they doing? Language arts, they're doing culinary. I think that's an amazing opportunity for students that I would have loved to have, because especially when you come from such a small community, your opportunities feel kind of limited.
Alternative forms of assessment are very important, especially in a day and age where everything is not like it once was. Traditional school, you took a test, you either passed the test or you didn't pass the test.
The capstone projects were really geared at giving the seniors an opportunity to look at everything that they've learned and assess their knowledge in a really creative way.
Capstones allow you to bring in your own culture and express it through how you're explaining your capstone and how you're doing things. And so the student is able to bring their culture in and demonstrate how their culture is affecting their learning, how their culture is helping them with their decisions, how their culture is helping them choose their path forward.
We're all set up across the whole entire school district, K through 12, using a program called Padlet. Everybody is using this interactive program where they have their own space to create an experience and share anything that they want to about what they've learned and how they're prepared to leave us after they graduate.
Water is one of the most important resources on our planet.
Our hope is that they're able to express what they've learned in school creatively, to be able to openly communicate about themselves, their culture, their families, their communities, and really what they want to do after they graduate and how school has prepared them to enter the real world.
We're finally giving our kids the opportunity that was never given to them by making sure that what we're offering within the school, we're offering it to everybody across the board right now for all our students in the school district.
And the work that we're doing really shows that kids can take the lead on this. Their voice, they're being able to get in there and say, we're going to change what's happening in our communities. What's the purpose then? What we're doing from a business perspective, if it's not working, you would pivot. Why do schools continue to do the same thing when we know it doesn't work? Same thing with our internships and our paid internships, looking at careers. We've been able to correlate some of that data to show the attendance rates in our school district have increased because of the kids being involved in paid internships.
I think I'm going to go to work at a clinic. I'm trying to get into college to go to study for X-ray tech. Actually, yeah, I think it's going to help me because usually when I was thinking about I don't know how I was going to get, I would just say I'll get good grades and go to a nice college, but now the internship's helping me, they'll give me a good mindset of it.
They had over 130 kids participate in the summer program, elementary all the way up to seniors. And one of the things we saw in the data that the new metrics person shared with us was the fact that when the kids, they were able to trace it back and say, okay, these kids took this Galileo, which is an academic performance test, in May of 2022. In August, they took another test. Now, during the summer, they had summer school for June and July, and they did it in Diné, they did it in Spanish.
I think some of the really great changes are students now have more help academically. A lot of our Native American children are being put first, and I really love that. They also have an opportunity to ask for help without being afraid.
We were able to correlate that their work in the summer program showed an increase. All those kids that when they took the test in August, they all scored higher. We were seeing more positive outcomes in the standardized testing. All showed growth in their Galileo test scores. We have now put them in line to be their own success. Now that we give them all the tools and things that they need, and it's and to try to provide the holistic support around them, then they can be the success in their own lives. No one can fix the problem. We've got to all do it together. And that's the whole work on becoming beloved communities. And how do we do that? Again, going back to the humanness, instead of trying to divide, how do we come together and how do we support one another, and therefore, right, lifting everyone helps, lifting everybody no matter what state their families are there in helps and support that. And so, we can't start things and not have them continue. These little things that we're doing are like a drop in the bucket for overall change. This is work that takes years. We've got to accomplish something every single year that we're doing it. And one of the things that we're trying to do in terms of systems change is it shouldn't matter who's in the system, what leader it is, what school board member, whatever. We should be doing the right thing for kids over the years, and the system should stay stable. And the stability to this is when others come in and say, okay, this is the trajectory that we see this school district going in. And we're going to help them continue with that because we just started Student Voice. And guess what? We know this is going to help New Mexico kids for generations. Therefore, we're going to invest more on this. The legislature, we're going to go to them and say to them, this is what we're seeing in data collection. This is what we're seeing from hearing from our kids. This is what you can see in the future workers of New Mexico.
Because it's who we are, and it makes up not only just identity, but there are traditions, there are rituals, and there's wisdom in each one of those cultural nuances that should be honored and also passed down from generation to generation.
I can honestly say that from the bottom of my heart that we're fighting hard for these kids. We want to make sure that they're not being robbed of their education, that they're getting the top quality education that the school district can provide. And that's what we've been fighting for the past 6 to 8 years. And finally, we're at that point to where I can honestly say that we're giving that quality education to our students that what they deserve is what they're getting right now.
It's like a wise investment for future generations. Stability of it is really important, and the continuation. That's something that the board's been working on. They have a 5-year strategic plan, look at the data that's tied to it, and then we make improvements. And really, sometimes philanthropic organizations like Kellogg and others will call us and say, hey, we hear there's great work going on in Cuba. We hear there's a lot of equity work and racial healing going on over there. We hear there's a lot of conversation about equity in food, in justice, in teachers, and you're growing your own and all this stuff. And we say to them, yes, come and look. And then when they come and look, they can't believe it because we're such a tiny little district. So it's like a tiny little piece in the state of New Mexico. I do want to say, a big thank you to the Kellogg Foundation and everybody that's been helping us in supporting this really unique work of food justice and food to table and In real rural New Mexico, our kids are going to be building a barn that's in relation to this, and they're going to start having animals and seeing what does it look like and how do animals contribute. I'm excited to hear what they have to say, and I'm excited to really watch them push for it.
Hi, my name is Forrest McCauley, and I want to be a mechanical engineer.
One of the things that I do want to do when I do gain enough experience is be able to come back to Cuba and open a clinic here, because from experience, I know, like when your animals are sick, you have to travel an hour and a half to be able to see a vet.
They're coming into their own. I feel like our kids are really coming into their own beings and really being much more assertive than I've seen in years, which I love. We have literally just scratched the surface of how beautiful the children in Cuba Public Schools are, how smart they are, and just scratching the surface to their potential and their abilities. You know, what has taken us 5 years is good and a lot, but we need quite a few more years of stability, of sustainability, and system change in order for this trajectory of where the kids are going. But they are the brightest, the most talented, and in some cases and in some ways, they were never tapped or never seen the beauty and the greatness that they carry academically, social, emotionally, culturally, linguistically. So I am looking forward to the next 5 years and those to come for this community and these young ones who will then in turn take over the school district and other things in the state of New Mexico and throughout the country.